Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Coming and sitting down because today we're going to talk about gamer crimes. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Looks like that's gonna come back and haunt me someday. Cut that. Don't put that in. We've all gotten a little too invested in a video game here and there, but perhaps you've blurted out a word you shouldn't say.
What an asshole.
You threw a controller, which I want to say, if your toxic trait is that you smash a gaming controller when in a fit of rage, that person's gonna kill somebody. Some people can calm down pretty quickly and move on after some gamer rage, right? While others take that anger and use it to do unspeakable things. It turns out that there are many ridiculous and even gruesome crimes that take place in the world of video games. You might be surprised at just how much things can escalate in the heat of the moment. And trust me, we've talked about our fair share of some gamer crimes, like when we did the League video, and I guess that was pretty much it. We talked about it a little bit.
Today's video is sponsored by Aura. I'm gonna give you a couple names. Spokio, Truthfinder, been verified? You ever heard of these before? Probably not, but they've heard of you. These are all data brokers, and their entire business is collecting your personal info and selling it to anyone who's willing to pay, often for as little as a few dollars. This stuff is being packaged, indexed, and sold legally all over the internet without your consent. That's why I started using Aura. I kept getting calls and texts from spammers and scammers, and these people make billions of dollars a year off of it. It's not gonna stop. Our privacy is their profit, and we're forced to find new ways to keep our information hidden or contact shady data brokers on your behalf. And within weeks, your info will start disappearing from the internet, so scammers and spammers have way less to work off of. Aura also keeps checking to make sure your personal information doesn't reappear on those data broker sites. Aura also monitors the dark web, sends real-time fraud alerts if someone tries to access your credit or bank accounts, and gives you built-in tools like a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, and more, all in one app. And if something does go wrong, you got 24/7 US-based support and up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. You get Aura free for 14 days at aura.com/papameat. There's more than enough time to start getting your information removed from these sketchy sites. That's aura.com/papameat. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring this video, and back to the video.
Let's start with a crime that you all knew was coming: property damage. While some may crack open a controller or two in their lifetime, things can take a turn when it results in damaging other people's property, like the New Orleans arcade rampage. Going old school, dude. Well, these old heads still get angry, huh? Yeah. Do you think the arcade games, do you think they ever said the gamer word there too?
Oh.
You think so? Like on Galaga? It's bad when you grit your teeth. That kind of thing. I can't see someone yelling the gamer word over Galaga, dude. Maybe Gauntlet Legends. Maybe. You know who you are.
I think arcade games aren't, well, maybe if it's a versus game. Like,
you say aren't competitive enough, sir? I've seen some people get down on Pac-Man and shit, dude. For a high score to have your name up there with the number and everything. In 2021, a new customer at Sea Cave Arcade and Bar that referred to himself as the Wolf had given himself a reputation. Also, that guy definitely says the game word. If you referred to yourself as the Wolf, I think you let a couple vowels slip. I'm just gonna say it. Does that make sense? I don't think so. It doesn't matter. Referred to himself as the Wolf, and had given himself a reputation of being rude to other patrons and making them uncomfortable in general because he once again referred to himself as the Wolf. This time, during the weekly tournament held every Sunday, he had brought along a price tag gun. He had been messing around with it all day, putting stickers all over expensive vintage arcade cabinets. The owner, Judah Lee, was sick of the disrespect, so he returned his entry fee and asked him to leave. In response, Wolf looked at him and asked if he was interested in dying. Judah kicked him out, which led to the Wolf busting out a butterfly knife and waving it around and appeared threatening. You think the Wolf was at least talented with it? Are you interested in dying, sir? I can't get on the Atom Family pinball machine? I'm going to say it. He brought up that he owned an assault rifle before leaving the parking lot. I've had a couple. You ever had somebody that says that they own a gun? Oh man, when I worked at that game store that I worked at, all the time. You realize that I have a gun at home? People would say that. Like, you're selling me Shallow Hal on DVD, dude. What am I saying? Okay, actually, I'll give you $1,000 for it. What am I supposed to say? 30 minutes later, however, the Wolf returned with a bicycle lock and locked the front door from the outside. People began to panic as the man started smashing the store windows and sending glass all over the floor. The police were called, but the man had already fled the scene. Judah was forced to close down the shop, but things took a turn for the worst around 1 a.m. that night. He was alerted by a security system that someone had broken into the building, and through his security cameras, he watched as the wolf, armed with an axe, smashed in every single arcade and television screen in sight, totaling up to around $50,000 in damages. I'd want to kill him. The wolf had the confidence to return to the store yet again, but this time when employees and arcade regulars were volunteering to help clean the mess up, he pulled out a gun, ran behind a group of people and yelled, "Tell them to shut it down! I'm cartel!" It's a little Mexican wolf. He was finally caught and arrested. So he turned out to be a 30-year-old man named Mitchell McNelly IV. He was booked with false imprisonment, aggravated assault, criminal mischief, and criminal damage to property. With the help of a GoFundMe page, the arcade was able to raise over $37,000 to repair the arcade and continue paying employees, which is a nice, wholesome ending to that. Not fix everything, but I would assume, hopefully, fix like the ones that he loved the most. That's the thing with arcade cabinets and pinball machines, such a lost art form. The cool kind of like cabinets that were made, the lighting systems that goes on with it, the hand-painted stuff that people do. And sick. As people became more and more connected online, we've seen higher rates of romantic relationships birthed through video games. Not all of them end well, like the MapleStory divorce that led to virtual murder. I don't know that. What? MapleStory is a massively popular, free-to-play action MMORPG from South Korea.
Did you ever play MapleStory?
I don't know what MapleStory is. I thought it was a hockey game at first. In the game, players can get married and even obtain rewards based on how long the two of them had stayed together. Damn, dude. That right? All right, there you go. 10 years together. The game also allows couples to get a divorce, something a 43-year-old woman from Tokyo was suddenly hit with out of nowhere from her 33-year-old virtual husband. She had woken one day to find out that she was no longer able to access the couple chat and was ghosted everywhere else. I think it was that. I gotta.
What? Fucked up though.
Yeah, at 44 years old, you better believe that MapleStory thing. That was a long relationship. This enraged the woman, and she decided to enact her revenge by tampering with his account. At one point in their relationship, she had gotten his login credentials, and she used this to log in and quickly delete the character he had been playing for years. When the man realized she had tampered with his account, he called the police. They took this very seriously and arresting her on charges of illegally accessing a computer and manipulating electronic data. She was even detained and held 620 miles away from her home. That's so specific. What the fuck?
They flew her.
They put her in the like Hannibal Lecter mask and like flew her ass into a different country. When investigated by police, she admitted to her crimes, stating,
"I was suddenly divorced without a word of warning. That made me so angry."
Is that what a Japanese woman sounds like?
It was...
She risked up to 5 years in prison or a fine of up to $5,000. The final result of this case is unknown, but we know for a fact she had to pay. Yeah, they paid, she paid, and they still locked her ass up. She's like, no!
Oh, wait, that's crazy. Wait, hold on. 5 years in prison or a $5,000 fine?
I'd pay the $5,000. I would donate plasma. There's no way I would lose 5 years of my life. Not all crimes are committed by game consumers. Sometimes game developers can unknowingly help commit a crime. This was the case of the EA brass knuckle controversy. I wanted one of these so bad, dude. Because in 2009, EA released the Godfather 2 game. Remember that? Show some footage of it.
But I think he's planning. And I'm gonna need more muscle. Another soldier.
I agree.
What'd you say during that game when you were playing it?
What is going on?
I'm walking in.
Let's cut both of that. As part of its promotion, companies were sent press kits that included a pair of golden brass knuckles. I like how this look real too. It couldn't just be like plastic or something. It's like, no, they gotta be real. They knowingly sent out weapons to people who, in some cases, were not allowed to own them in their state. Pretty sure brass knuckles are illegal in, like, I would say the majority of states. They're considered an actual, it's like having a giant machete on you or something like that. What, I can't come into your store with this?
Also, isn't mailing weapons illegal?
I think if because you can mail guns, but it has to go to like an armory and you have to like sign and pick it up and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't think you can just send like a gun through UPS. Did you get it? Realizing that this was a risky move, EA started contacting people and asking them to return the brass knuckles so they could properly be disposed of. That's very Godfather-esque though too. Maybe that was always a plan.
All right, call me. I'll discard it for you.
And one of the most insane types of game crimes are those that escalate to IRL confrontations. In real life. In-game currency and rare items can be so sought after that it causes people to do some pretty extreme things, like robbing a teenage boy of his RuneScape gold. Hamza Bawa, a 19-year-old from Massachusetts, had arranged to purchase around 5 billion gold from a man named Jonathan Dokler in RuneScape in exchange for $3,300. Not bad. To make sure the transfer was done properly, Hamza insisted that they must meet face-to-face rather than send the money electronically. Jonathan sent his friend David to meet him and collect the money in a library at his school. David noticed that the money Hamza was pulling out looked fake, but Jonathan told him over the phone to continue with it anyways. Hamza suddenly left and insisted that they needed to meet again the next night to finish the trade. The next day, David once again called him out for pulling out fake bills, but this time, Hamza was furious. He pulled out a gun and pointed it at David. It was an airsoft gun. But David believed it was 100% real, and he told reporters, I couldn't believe I was about to get shot over RuneScape gold. I was so scared that I was so scared I was about to die. That's every average Boston goer. Oh, f*** you, go sucks. I told my buddy, I'm not getting shot over electronic gold. It's not the best impression, but David was told to call Jonathan and say that the money was accepted. Terrified, David was forced to comply, leading to 4.7 billion RuneScape coins being sent to Hamza for free. Surveillance footage of the interaction led to his immediate arrest, and when he was charged with second-degree robbery and grand larceny, he faced up to 15 years in jail. Somehow, this isn't the first time an IRL RuneScape robbery took place, because in 2007, 2 teens robbed a young boy of his rare RuneScape items. A 13-year-old child from the Netherlands, who had been playing the game for a long time, slowly acquired an assortment of valuable RuneScape items. While biking home, the victim was approached by the 2 teens and was forced to go to one of their homes with them. After being forced into a bedroom, he was told to give up his RuneScape money and valuable items. And at one point, he was in a chokehold while being told he would be killed for not complying. What a Chad, dude. I don't give a f***. Choke me out, stab me, motherfucker. I'm not giving you shit. He eventually gave them what they wanted, and was thrown out of the house. After reporting the crime, the 2 teens were quickly arrested and charged with theft and assault. In the end, they were sentenced to 144 years of community service. What? God damn! You're gonna have to do community service until fucking die? Is that how they roll in the Netherlands? You're going to have to do this until you die. The media has often blamed video games for many of the crimes committed by young people. While this is often overblown, there are few cases where video games have inspired violent crimes.
How do you feel about cutting his head off?
Games like GTA inspired one man to go on a wild joyride in Alabama. Zachary Burgess, a 20-year-old student of Auburn University, went on a chaotic crime spree. Zachary started his night by stealing someone's parked truck while they were still in it, forcing them to the passenger seat. The woman was held hostage as Zachary started driving erratically in the parking lot. During his joyride, he slammed into 9 vehicles. He eventually hopped out and fled the scene, but was eventually arrested and charged with kidnapping and 9 counts of hit and run. Allegedly, he told an officer that he was curious what it was like to play Grand Theft Auto for real. Are we stretching it a bit for the video? Yeah. Many of these game-related crimes can get intense, but usually are stopped by the authorities before it can get too out of hand. But this isn't always the case, sadly. Let's see how gruesome things can really get, starting with the mom who shot her son for gaming too loud. We're laughing because it is absurd, okay? In Arizona, a 72-year-old mother named Hazel Benson had become fed up with her 38-year-old son loudly playing video games. This is my wife to my son, dude. It got so bad that she called the police and asked them to come over to make him stop. After they started arguing about it, the son tried to go on a walk to cool off. Upon returning home, he found that Hazel was blocking him from entering the home. But according to the documents, he charged toward her with, quote, his hands and fist at his waistline. Hazel felt threatened by this, so she pulled out her gun and shot him in the stomach. When police arrived, they found her son bleeding on the ground. Hazel admitted to shooting her son and dumping her firearm in a nearby canal. She was she's like Robert De Niro in The Irishman. She was charged with aggravated assault, disorderly conduct, and discharge of a firearm within city limits. Luckily, her son's injuries were not life-threatening. Also, does feel so. You feel threatened? Word.
I think it's an excuse to pull out the gun.
Yeah, it was an excuse because she's just like, he'll never leave, and then she wanted to boom in his stomach. Also, ditching it in the canal, that's another thing. I'll just throw it in the river. Also, bitch is probably senile. 72 years old, old bird's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for sure, you know what I mean? She just hears her son playing like Ratchet and Clank in the other room. Yeah, exactly. off, Ratchet! And he's sitting there, and she just like looks at her around. When you're playing games online, it's normal to encounter some infuriating players. Some take the harassment so seriously, they make their life's mission to ruin their lives. In New Jersey, 20-year-old Edward Kane traveled to another player's house to enact his revenge. Edward was playing an online MMORPG called Arcade with another man his age. They had gotten into an online dispute that got pretty heated, and this prompted him to attempt hurting him in real life. He was somehow able to acquire his home address, which was all the way in Florida, and Edward told his mom he was seeing a friend before flying to Florida and taking an Uber to a local store to buy a fucking hammer. He then arrives at the man's home at 2 a.m., which already happened to be unlocked. He waited for the man to leave his bedroom before Edward lunged forward and smacked him on the head with the hammer. They started wrestling with each other as the victim's stepfather came to help. While Edward was restrained, the police were called, arriving at the home covered in blood, dude. The victim went to the hospital to receive staples in his head, while Edward was arrested by the police. He tried to explain himself to investigators by saying that the victim was he's a bad person online. That's the quote.
When the suspect was asked why he did what he did, the suspect stated that he is a bad person online.
Edward was charged with attempted second-degree murder and armed burglary. Unfortunately, IRL confrontations like this don't always end with a couple staples in the head. In one horrific case, a gamer swatted another player, leading to his death. Which swatting is like the cringiest thing to come out of the internet. Like probably one of the worst things. I hate swatting. How is the swatting thing like not blaming the SWAT teams, but at this point in time, how is there not some kind of like protocol for people like abusing the system? 19-year-old Casey S. Viner was playing Call of Duty with a random player. They had gotten to a heated argument after Casey was team killed. He threatened to swat the man, who responded by giving him his home address and said, "Oh, please try some shit." So Casey told his friend Tyler to make the call, which he did. If this wasn't insane enough, the address wasn't even the man's current residence. The man used to live there, but it was now the home of a 28-year-old man named Andrew Finch, who had nothing to do with the altercation altogether. The police thought that they were entering a hostile situation, being told that the man in the home had already put a bullet in an innocent father's head and was now holding the rest of the family hostage. That's fun. Andrew noticed that a SWAT team was surrounding his house, and upon exiting the front door, an officer fired at him for not raising his arms in the air as directed. Andrew was taken to the hospital, but ultimately passed away. Investigators tracked down the people responsible, who admitted to the false report. Tyler had also admitted that he had done this on multiple occasions, with one instance involving bomb threats made to schools, malls, TV stations, and the FCC headquarters in Washington. Barris was sentenced to 20 years in prison, while Casey received 15 months, as well as a 2-year ban from video games after his sentence. 20 years even, I just feel like that should be like a life in prison thing. Also, you're admitting that you've done this multiple times and it's resulted. If you kill someone in a way, like in that reckless of a way, to me, it only makes sense if you're in prison forever. The person that falsely called the thing in that resulted in a death, to me, hang him. Hang him. You know what? Hang him upside down and just have all the blood go to his head, and that's how he dies. Long time.
Oh, you could put a little cut in his neck, like the Japanese do it. They hang you upside down, put a little cut in your neck, and they drain you of the blood. Have you seen Silence?
It always goes back to Japan with you, doesn't it? Everything we do. This boy needs some Japanese pussy bad, dude. Just like the Japanese did it. Have you heard of that? In Wisconsin, a 10-year-old child killed his mom over a VR headset. The child, Noah Mann Tate, had been dealing with mental health issues for some time, to the point where his mother started putting cameras up around the house in order to keep an eye on him. Sounds like the start of a horror movie, doesn't it? Yeah, he's been having some weird issues. So it's like her doing the found footage thing where she's like setting up the camera and he's just like standing in the corner. This was due to his various violent acts. What? Like the time he attempted to fill a balloon with flammable liquid and ended up starting a fire in their home.
Psychopath.
Okay, so instead of cameras, hang him upside down, put the little thing in. Hey, pull the weed quick is what I gotta say. It's an infestation. Pull the weed. Pull it! He had been pushing his mom to buy him an Oculus headset online. Also a 10-year-old who's like, I want an Oculus. You're like, why the f do you know what that is? Is that weird?
My nephew had an Oculus at 8.
We don't need to bring him into this. Something his mother repeatedly refused. This enraged the boy, leading him to do something drastic. I thought that said autistic. When his mother wasn't looking, Noah had taken the keys to the gun safe. He shot and killed his mother. Unsure of how to explain what happened, Noah told police that he was simply twirling the gun around and happened to shoot her. His aunt, however, was told by the boy himself that he was purposely aiming the gun at her. He seemed to show little remorse, with the boy buying a VR headset the next day using her credit card, and later he told her grandma, "I'm sorry for killing mom," before asking about the status of his amateur Amazon delivery. That is gruesome, dude. The child was charged as an adult, facing up to 60 years in prison. When asked about the possibility of posting the $50,000 bond, he told the lawyer that he could try gathering coins from between the cushions of his couch. That's a sadistic, evil little motherfucker, isn't it? Maybe I could just dig for some coins. I'm a kid. Also, you should hand me your gun. He's currently locked up in a juvenile detention center. Upside down. Hang him upside down. The Japanese like, oh, yo. And lastly, we'll end on the internet rivalry that turned into murder. In 2008, after a long and bitter rivalry in Lineage 2, a massive popular MMO, members of two opposing Russian clans scheduled a face-to-face meeting in one of Moscow's bars. Around 30 people, a mix of both clans, come to the meeting. After a bit of friendly drinking and civil discussions, Audrey Pomlina, known in the game as DVP, invited one of his opponents to come outside. The man he invited came back into the bar with a broken nose. Naturally, his fellow clan members, Alexander Bliskin, stepped in for his teammate. He came out and punched DVP in the head, to which DVP responded with a headbutt to the face. Alexander Bliskin fell to the ground and cracked his skull on the pavement. A brawl ensued, which ended with police and ambulances coming to the scene of the fight. After a 3-day coma, Alexander was pronounced dead. Andrew was sentenced to 8 years in prison in 2008. After serving a sentence, Andrew came out and immediately began his eventually successful streaming career playing Lineage 2. Just goes to show that streamers are the worst. Most of these cases have been avoided by taking a step back and realizing just how trivial the situation is. If you're about to book a flight to another state to attack someone because they were mean to you in a game, it's time to take a good hard look at what your life has become. Try to stay off video games, guys. It's for the best, I swear. Thank you so much for watching today's video, guys, and we will see you in the next one. I hated that.
This?
I hated that. I hated the... I did. I don't know why. I think that was... I was building myself up too much. I was like, I need to do something at the end. Oh, God.
Is there a... Have you ever... What's the angriest you've gotten at a video game?
I never get angry at video games. And I've never said the gamer word in a video game. Ever. Ever. Okay. All right, that's it.